District, the regular meeting, and the state planning and project meeting. So call to order, pledge to the flag. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance
to
the flag
flag
of the
of the
United
United
States
States of America
of America,
and
and to the republic
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
with
and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all. Very good. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia?
Here.
Director Kelling?
Here.
Director Nyman?
Here.
Director Schoenberg?
Here.
And I'm Director Gibson, so all the directors are here. Discussion vote on adjusting the agenda if necessary.
This is Carlos. I actually got something I need to do. So, is there any way we can go through my stuff first?
So
They're
go
really,
through it before we do the financial business?
Yeah, if we could go through.
Well, I think we need to do number 6 first. And
Or
then
better yet, yeah, as soon as you can. As you can do number 6 first, if you need to.
well, because our auditor is on this call. So
Yeah, that's fine.
We don't want to be keeping him. So I make a motion that we move number 6 up to 4.1, and that we move the financial business to 10.1.
I would actually like to move. I'd like to do a friendly amendment to that, Director Nyman, that we move
Okay.
it after 3, not after the ad hoc committee reports. The
What, number 6?
number 6, and that we then immediately follow that with number 8, which is Carlos primarily, number 8 and because Oscar is number 9. So
And number 10, and that should be quick because we just need an update from Carlos on number 10.
okay. So
I accept that friendly amendment.
Okay, then I'll second that motion.
Okay, roll call of directors. Director Garcia?
Aye.
Director Kelling?
Aye.
Director Nyman?
Aye.
Director Schoenberg?
Aye.
Director Gibson is an aye, 5-0-0. So now we will move on to public comments. Are there any public comments? Seeing that there's none, let's move on to number 6, discussion vote on the audit book asset detail budget with BHK. A, discussion vote on assets versus 179 expenses.
So I had Tiffany put this on the agenda and invite Scott Westall to address us for a number of these items under 6. But basically with A, what we're interested in, we have a lot of items that are not being expensed, that are being put on our books as an asset. They're under a specific amount that we haven't quite set yet, that we started talking about one time, but I don't think we ever finished that. But I wanted first Scott to just talk to us about any possible issues that there might be to just expense, do a 179 expense on those smaller items as opposed to keeping them as an asset. I think, Scott, just so you know, some of the items just never were sent to you. So now we have a bookkeeper who is sending you those items, but I think that we had some items that didn't get expensed or put as an asset, and they were just, I mean, they were expensed on our expenses sheets as far as our financials, but they were never expensed by you.
Can I ask what type of, I mean, what kind of, give me an example. I'm not understanding.
Okay, so so on the sheet that Deborah sent, you all have it in your packet. It's called Fraser Park Public Utility District Transactions by Account, June 30th, 2021.
Okay.
So for instance, if we go on there, there's purchase of a garden hose, which is down towards the bottom for $141.19. I don't think that needs to be an asset. That's just my personal opinion. That's why I want to hear from Scott. But I think that that probably just needs to be expensed, or if there's some other way of doing it where we don't even do the 179 expense. But I believe that we probably need to account for it, even though we don't do our taxes per se as the 179 expense. But Scott is the expert.
What do you mean? What do you mean by 179 expense?
Scott, do you want to explain that?
Yeah, so actually, I mean, I do want to just first stipulate, it wouldn't actually be 179 expense. So if you had, like, 179 expense is a tax concept. And since since the district is not a non-tax entity, it's not really relevant. You as a board have the authority, and the district can set a policy where you have a specific threshold where below which you would essentially deem things that might have a couple year lifespan, like a garden hose, for instance, and just say that this is basically a set of day-to-day supplies, and we're not going to capitalize it and depreciate it as an asset because we think it's like a kind of like de minimis thing. It's
Right.
Small and immaterial.
That's my mistake, because we hadn't been putting it as 179, but then I thought that you had spoken to our current bookkeeper and said that we did need to do some items that way. So if you feel that we don't need to do that at all, then we've been doing, we've just been expensing it as part of our day-to-day financials on some items.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would recommend that you set a threshold, and that anything, and that you capitalize things over that threshold, and then anything below that threshold you just automatically expense. I think we're kind of going towards the same direction on that. In that case, like, the board can set it wherever you want. It could be $250, it could be $500, and then you'd say, if you bought a new set of filing cabinets that are $450, you might get 3 or 4 years or more out of them, but you'd say, it's below that capitalization threshold, so you just go straight to putting them to expense.
So that actually brings us to B. So I think on A, we may not need to do any other discussion. Basically, we wouldn't worry about 179, and it would just be B, setting a threshold for what we consider an asset that needs to be depreciated, capitalized, and just a normal day-to-day sort of expendable expense. Like,
I thought we already had a threshold.
I don't think we ever put that in writing anywhere that I know of.
I know we talked about it in meetings. I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there like something like either a $5,000 or $2,500 threshold on things that have a short life?
No, I think we had talked about $1,000, but I don't think that it ever actually materialized anywhere.
Okay.
Could that be in the ad hoc? I don't remember any discussions.
I think these were probably prior to you being on the board, Terry.
Okay.
And then in the ad hoc, we've also talked about it multiple times, but it just never was voted on, to my knowledge. If we did vote on it, it's been quite a while ago, and it never made it into our policy bylaws for whatever reason. So if, Tiffany would have to search for that, but I believe it may have been something that we put in our minutes, but never fully adopted as a bylaw or policy.
Okay, so what amount do we think should be a set amount?
That going into B?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, so now we're on B.
correct.
Discussion vote on setting an amount to be considered an asset. Okay, cool.
And I think if it's something like a fireproof cabinet or whatever that has a very long life, and might be like $1,200 or $2,000, I kind of like to see that on our assets, but I don't necessarily want to see a vinyl chair, which is currently on our assets, counted on our assets. So there's a number of items that, I would say like 1,000 or 1,500, but we do have some bigger item, like $1,200 items that maybe we do want on our assets. So I don't know. It's somewhere in between there. Definitely, I would say that the items that are under $1,000, we probably do not need to. We need to track them with a competent bookkeeper who is putting them in our expenses correctly, but not make them assets that we depreciate.
I agree
And I don't
with
know,
you.
Scott, do you have a recommendation for that you would recommend?
I don't have a specific recommendation. Comparable sized entities often pick either $500 or $1,000. I probably $1,000 I think is maybe like a reasonable threshold.
Okay, I agree with $1,000. What does the other board members think?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll move that we vote on this, and that I move that we set the limit to $1,000 for considering something an asset rather than a day-to-day use disposable item.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call our directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Schellenberg,
Aye.
Director Gibson, aye. 500. Number C, discussion vote on proposed categories.
Okay, so this is still being thought about, but Scott, I saw that you had put some categories that I wasn't necessarily wanting to have happen for some of this stuff. Now, some of this stuff won't matter anymore because we're now not going to be considering it an asset, but I was concerned about a couple of the general, well, you know what? All those general plant items are going to drop off anyway, so none of those matter except for the Ford. So what I'm proposing, so also in the director's packet, and Scott, I don't think you got a copy of this because we're not anywhere near done with it yet, but I can give you an idea of the categories that I'm proposing. And then I don't know, did you email that to Scott? No, I told you not to, right, Tiffany? Because I didn't want to confuse him because they're not set yet in stone. But basically, let me just read off from what we have in front of us, and it'll give you a little bit better idea. So I'm proposing that we have the general plant category still, which we've had in the past, and it had all kinds of weird stuff under it, chairs. It also had vehicles. I'm proposing that it only be the items like fireproof filing cabinet, if that even goes under there, because I think that some of those aren't going to drop off because of their price. But anyway, that it be sort of items in the sort of office building that we could call general plant. Then we would have a group called land and land rights, which we've had in the past. A group called office building, but it would only be the actual building itself, the block wall, the concrete on the outside, when the parking lot, that sort of thing. So that would be office building rather than the items inside the office building. A group called other property, which would be all kinds of odds and ends that don't really fit other places. For instance, our signage project. which is definitely something that we need to put somewhere, but it's not normal property, or our storage container, some items like that, our security system. So those would fall under the other. We had a category called pumping plant, which had some really bizarre stuff under it that shouldn't even be there, that are all expendables. I'm proposing that we still have a category called pumping plant, but that category now would be rolled into source of supply, storage, pumping. So it would be one category that would encompass all of that, and under that would be each of our sites. So we would have everything that's in the Sam Young Spring site, everything that's in the Pine Canyon Spring site, everything that's under well number 4. Maybe, Tiffany, can you text this to Scott so he can maybe follow along, but he doesn't. I just didn't want you to look at it and think this was written in stone already, Scott.
No, that's fine. I'm taking notes just to.
Oh, okay. So, and then we can talk about some more, but it's just sort of like proposals that we, okay. So under that pumping plant would instead be, everything, which we had a group called source of supply. We had a group called pumping plant, but we would roll those together as, all of the true sources of supply for the water company. So, I had a long conversation with Johnny about all of this, and right now, it doesn't ever make sense. Like, our assets aren't where our assets should be. Whereas if we put them into categories that made sense, we would know exactly what we have in each spot for when we're trying to get grants or whatever. So I had proposed that we break those, and Johnny was in agreement with that. So that source of supply would be our wells, our springs,
Our booster plant.
our boosters would actually go under a different spot.
Okay.
So because our boosters are actually transmission.
Okay. Yeah.
And so so that's another proposal, that we would have the sources of supply, which would basically be wells and springs, and our corporate yard site, and sites where the tanks are. Actually, you're correct. Our boosters would be under that. I'm wrong. So we did talk about having our boosters under that. So and our fencing under that. So that basically everything sort of stayed together, even though source of supply, but it was the general sites that are sources of supply and everything that's contained in the sites. And then another category called transmission and distribution, which we had before. We had a transmission. I'm trying to look at our old sheets along with our new ones. Let's see. So I was going to say this again for a second. So we had an old general plant. We would keep general plant, but some of the stuff would drop off and we would move some things to it. We had an old land and land rights. That would pretty much stay the same. We had an old office building that would pretty much stay where it was, except that we had the library under that and stuff like that, which I don't know why. We had other property, but we would remove some stuff from that and add some other stuff to that. We had an old category called pumping plant. That would be, and we had an old category called source of supply. So those would be kind of rolled in together to this newer category that is, sorry, too much stuff in my hands. That newer category would be what I was saying a minute ago. Source and supply, storage, pumping. And that was all 14014. So we would have to, the categories are a little weird, so we'd have to talk about that, Scott, because the old pumping plant was 14015, source of supply was 14014. So, but we're basically talking about source of supply being the wells and the springs, the transmission distribution being, originally it had all kinds of weird stuff under it too, but changing that so that it was encompassing just our pipes, valves, hydrants, and meters. So transmission and distribution would become all of the different trails. We're doing this pipeline project, and we have no way right now of tracking trails on our old asset list. It would basically say pipe, but it wouldn't say where, anything about it, and we depreciate it, but we had no idea what it was that we were depreciating. So we're hoping that if we can start fresh as we do this pipeline project and start to say what's actually under the ground and how many feet are on each trail, then and that would all go under transmission distribution. That would help us a lot. And then whatever valves and hydrants were connected to that. And then the meters also, because we're doing a meter project, although I don't know individually if they would fall under that. I don't know if they fall under that $1,000. Johnny, how much are they each?
Well, we wouldn't itemize each one because they're all going in at the same time. It would just be the smart meter project, in my opinion.
That would be pretty typical. If you were buying or installing like 1,000 items that are individually $500, you probably, like most places, would still.
Yeah, of course we would. Because that's like what is that project? A couple $1 million.
Right, so. Right. But one of the things that we've done in the past, which has been a huge problem, so we might do that with the meters, but we certainly don't want to do that with the whole project, because what's been happening, if you look on your sheet, we had designations like
I understand
USDA. That. Yeah, no, I'm just saying for Scott, we had designations like USDA project, and then it would be like $3 million being depreciated. But there's all kinds of stuff within that project that has different lifespans. And so it was really bad to do it all as one, or not helpful for us, not bad, but not helpful for us to do
not
it all
accurate, for sure.
Excuse me?
Not accurate, right?
Well, it was accurate as to how much money we got for it, but it wasn't.
Depreciation-wise.
Depreciation-wise, yeah, it just doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense for us as we have to replace something. There was no way to tell that one thing had gone out of service and then been replaced by something else. So stuff wouldn't get pulled off the list, and it would make our assets be incorrect, basically.
So, with the meters, we're not going to be able to list 1,300 separate things.
Right. So those might all get listed as 1,300 meters because we're purchasing them all at the same time.
Right. So this project's $4.5 or $4 million or $4.5 million.
Right, but we wouldn't want it.
So $1.2 million of it, or whatever it ends up being for the well, would go under well 7, and then the rest of it would go under meters.
Correct. Or whatever pipe or whatever. So, and then so that would be the transmission, and then another group that we're proposing would be electrical telemetry SCADA, which would be all of our, because we now have all this electrical stuff at every site in our SCADA system, and that was being included under distribution, but it would actually be better served under a different grouping. And then we already had a group called utility plant building. That we were saying would be all of the stuff in our yard, basically, and all of our office building, our shop and storage, our cement slab and light fixtures, fencing, anything that's part of that utility plant. Which Johnny likes that name because I guess a lot of companies call that that section of their operation utility plant. And then
actually, it's the corporate yard, is what I always say. It's not the utility plant.
Okay, because you had me put corporate yard as the. We can talk about some more.
Yeah, corporate yard. Yeah, that's. I mean, the main part of the yard with the well 6 in it, and the office and the old office and all that stuff is the corporate yard.
But corporate yard we put as the well, including the well, the wells that are in the corporate yard. So I had that. I originally had that under a different spot. I had that under source of supply storage. But we can talk more about that. I mean, this is not
Yeah,
locked down.
no big deal.
It's not locked down. It's just proposals. And then another group called vehicles, which would be all our vehicles, and take out our heavy equipment. So it would just be like the Ford truck, the Polarises, the Toyotas, and then another grouping that would be heavy equipment utility vehicles and include our portable generators, so that those would all be in a group. And the non-portable generators would be attached to the sites themselves, so they'd be under the source of supply. And then a grouping for special tools, so the kind of expensive special tools we might have, like a pipe radio detection locator, sonic water level meter, something like the nitrate analyzer. Those would go under special tools.
Okay.
So that's kind of the proposal. It still has some fleshing out to do, but I mostly wanted to do this because we need to get through our current audit, and so part of this was so that we could get a pricing, drop some stuff off, and the things that were under like an odd category, and try to get some of the other stuff under a more realistic category, just so, and I know, Scott, you had talked about we could still move some things around a little bit, but just so that we had an idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and so that's kind of the find my agenda. So that's basically C. I don't know if we need to vote on that yet, because I think it really needs to be, that's what the book asset committee is working on, but I think knowing what's an asset, what's not an asset, will help a lot, because there's not as many things to categorize. So then, Becky, can we move on to D?
Absolutely. Discussion vote on hiding / removing items that are fully depreciated.
So we have a number of fully depreciated items, and a number of items that we don't even know what the heck they are, which we've talked to you about in the past, Scott. They just say pipe, or they just say, I don't know. There's quite a few of those. We're not sure what they are, and so I was talking to our bookkeeper about the possibility of, rather than completely removing them, I mean, they wouldn't show up on our asset list, so have them not show up on our asset list, but rather than completely remove them, just sort of hide them in our books so that they only show up if we need to pull them up, but they don't show up. And I wanted to ask you if that was something that was doable, or if you had a better recommendation. But we had talked originally about removing a number of items, and I was going through and color coding everything that we thought needed to go away, but maybe we just need to keep it in our books, because there's some stuff that we had put as assets it's not going to be assets. I don't know what the best way is about going about that, but I know our bookkeeper.
Is it okay if I ask a question about that? If the items that just say pipe, and the things that we obviously are never going to know, what would be the purpose of hiding them, so we could call them up at a later date if nobody knows what they are right now, instead of just removing them?
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out the best practices for this, because it obviously it's not going to be every. My only issue is that there's some stuff that would get removed, and some stuff we may not want to completely remove, and then I don't know how we would do that consistently.
I was just thinking that if nobody in existence knows what something is, maybe we should just remove it. And Scott obviously can give his opinion, but since all of us have been around for so many years, and none of us know what some of that stuff is or where it is, rather, it doesn't do any good to ever have it listed anywhere.
It just sounds so very final to remove something.
It does, but nobody has ever known where that stuff was. So we
If
I
you're
get
not
that,
seeing-
Bonnie, I do.
If you're not seeing it come up on our financials every month, Johnny, what would it matter if it's in our books but isn't coming up as an active?
Well, it's certainly nothing that I have a strong opinion of. I'm just saying that down the road, after we're gone, anybody who ever looks at that's going to have even less of a clue than us. So I just don't see the purpose of even having it on there, since nobody knows what it is. It just it doesn't make any sense, because it's gonna be useless information in 20 years, just like it is now, but even less so, because people really are going to know nothing about it.
And I also have a
Can you
question.
give me an example? Excuse me, an example
Yeah.
of what we have that is completely depreciated?
So if you look on your list, go to the list that we gave you, and if you go under transmission distribution, the original where it says old version, new categories below, and you can look under, for instance, number 59, pipelines and supplies. I put remove after we figure out what it is, which we probably never will. Purchased the 192 for $29,000. What the heck is it? We don't know. There's a bunch of those. I removed some of them from this list, so the list you have is not complete because I was just trying to give examples. But, you know, if you look number 58, 59, 60, they all say pipelines and supplies, and they all cost a good deal of money, but we have no idea where they are, what they are.
Lisa, you've been on the board.
Okay, could these things be something that's in the ground already, or they're supposed to be supplies?
These are in the ground, I would assume.
Oh, okay.
And
I
it
could
says,
be wrong,
and it
though.
says, and supplies, so it could be pipeline that they bought, you know, and then it
No,
ended up going
we have
into the
nothing.
ground. No,
Well,
I'm
yeah,
saying in the
eventually,
way
yeah.
in the past,
Yeah.
Johnny. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about currently.
Oh, I agree.
You
When
know.
when I came on the board, Johnny, we had a very large stack of pipes in the yard that were rotting. But we had a big stack of pipes. I'm sure they cost quite a bit of money. We ended up, I forget what we what we just. I was pretty new on the board at that time, but you know, we had
Maybe Scott could chime in with his opinion on the stuff, that if we have no idea where the location of something is or what it is, whether or not we should keep it, if it'll ever matter financially.
I mean, strictly speaking, if it's fully depreciated, it doesn't have any sort of like remaining financial benefit to it. So you're pretty much free to get rid of it. The reason to keep something that's fully depreciated on your books is primarily so that you would know what assets you have in existence. And if we're talking about things that are, in some of these cases, I mean, you have new pipes and valves from 1976 that have been depreciated since 1990. If you don't know what they are, and they have no net book value, they're not providing any sort of like financial benefit to you, I think that's a pretty reasonable reason to write them off.
So is there any issue, Scott, with writing off some things and not other things? So, I mean, do we have to be consistent with that? Because there are some things that make a lot of sense to write off, and there's other things that we really haven't replaced yet that really need to be on there, because we need to know for our capital improvement program that those things need to be replaced, even though they're fully depreciated.
No, I mean, there's different perspectives. From an operating perspective, if you want something to be on the fixed asset detail that we assist you with, just so that you have a list of assets that you own, that's a good reason for it to stay on the list. From a financial statement perspective, from like my perspective or the perspective of the financial statements, once they've been fully depreciated, there's no real benefit to see them staying on that list anymore. Like after they've been fully depreciated, they're pretty much just like a plus on one side and a minus on the other. And there's not really a reporting benefit to it for any real purpose. Like if you were looking at like, and you're not a company, you're not a corporation or anything, but just to use like that kind of perspective, if a company is looking at how much they own in assets and they were applying for a loan or something, a fully depreciated asset has no value, so it wouldn't even count towards assets you own if you were applying for a loan or something like that.
So we could pick and choose and remove anything that made absolutely no sense and keep something that we needed to keep track of.
100%.
Okay.
From a financial statement perspective, the depreciation process is about matching like the lifespan of the asset and making sure that it gets that your expenses and that expense process gets attributed over time the way like to match like the benefit you gain from that asset, existing. But once it's fully depreciated, at that point, it's just a matter of tracking it for your own internal benefit. And like exactly like you're saying, if you want to get rid of things that like we don't know what these are, no one will ever know what they are, then being on the list is just taking up space. Absolutely fine.
Okay, and what about one more question in that area? What about things that were placed on our Prop 218? So we have our first Prop 218. We're doing a second one now, and I haven't not yet seen what he's putting as our assets. We had a lot of discussions about it, but because we're such a kind of a all over the place with it, I'm not sure what he put. The previous gentleman from the state that helped us with it, he did put a couple of these items that that didn't have specifics, like just pipes in the ground, but so he did take a few things from the list that were depreciated. So is it better? It's probably better to hold on to whatever he put or not, or does it matter?
I honestly can't meaningfully contribute to that, just in the sense that, like, from a financial statement perspective, the way we look at it, it has no asset value. It's an empty, it's got nothing behind it. From the state's purpose, I don't know enough about the process or what goes on to the grants.
I think from the state's purpose, like pipes in the ground, what they're doing is we're going to have to replace all those, and so they're wanting to account for the cost of having to replace like pipes in the ground. So,
but the stuff on the asset list doesn't matter because they don't know what that pipe is either.
Yeah, that sounds right. And it sounds like if you're doing a list specifically for like grant purposes or like non-financial statement purposes, things that like kind of like are outside of the accounting arena, like my area, I think that it's probably either reasonable to keep a separate operating asset list of just like, these are the assets we have, or to just like discuss it with the person who's performing the grant. Maybe it's something where like we can discuss it like as a group, probably in a more like a more in-person setting where it would be easier to just like back and forth.
When the state wanted to know about pipeline replacement for the $10 million grant and the one before that I worked on, they didn't care about our asset list because they didn't spend the money on those assets anyway. They just had me go on Google Earth and get a rough estimate of how many miles of pipeline we got in the ground that needs to be replaced that I knew of.
Like it sounds like they're not using financial statement assets. They're using like actual, like real things that exist kind of as their basis. In that case, you might want to talk it through with them, but I don't think that removing assets that have no value would really affect that. But that's something you probably need to discuss with them more in person.
What happened to Lisa? I think we lost Lisa.
Maybe it dropped her off. Last meeting kicked me off a couple of times.
Okay. We'll have to wait for a second.
Yeah. Tempting to go on.
What's going on?
Oh, we lost Lisa.
Oh, yeah, she was having some issues. But while we're waiting, Scott, is there a certain number of years that an asset as a pipe that you can extend out 20 years, 50 years, 100 years? I mean, how far out should you extend something like that?
Sorry, I just missed all of the conversation that was happening. My Zoom.
We didn't have any. We lost you. Terry was just asking a question.
Okay.
Yeah, you would match the life of you would want to depreciate the asset over its useful life. Now that's clearly an estimate. You might estimate that a pipe is going to last you 20 years and it lasts 25. You might estimate it lasts 20 years and it lasts 15. That's just part of that's part of the estimation process. But the idea is to match the life to be pretty close to how long you expect to get a benefit out of the asset.
And most of that stuff could be looked up through a AWWA standard. It'll tell us how long a tank is supposed to last, or a well, or what have you.
Yeah, no, it's a great basis for doing it, Johnny. I mean, honestly, like, because I'm not an engineer or involved in the operations, like, I kind of rely on you as an organization, as an entity, to kind of give us guidance. But if you thought something was going to last 20 years, give or take 5 years, 20 years, kind of like in the middle of that lifespan, is probably a good way to target that.
Okay.
Within that, we have plenty of assets with water districts that do have 50-year lives, just because like a lot of the well equipment does, with minimal repairs or some amount of repairs over its lifespan, tend to last 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah, that's pretty typical for a well.
Yeah, but I was just thinking that some of this piping, if it's in the ground and it's been in the ground 30 years, it's probably reached kind of its life cycle. I mean, as far as the financial.
Yeah, as far as the financial, it's been depreciated, but as far as our Prop 218 and figuring out, we basically are already putting that in there because we need to replace everything basically in our system.
But I'm just saying that's what Lisa seems to keep saying, that we've got all this piping and we don't know where it is. But even if it's in the ground and it's been there 30 years, if we remove it, it's not gonna, I don't see where it's gonna hurt the financials.
Yeah, it won't.
Okay. That's all I was trying to clear up in my brain.
So can we go on to E?
We're not, okay, discussion vote on assets not added in the year purchased.
So I put that on there because we're finding that there are some assets that never were added to the list, but they were not purchased in this current audit year. And I just, again, not sure of the best way to approach that.
Well, Scott, can't we like give you a list and the years purchased, and we can add them to the list, and then I guess you would figure out how to depreciate it?
Yeah, I think that might be a more broad-ranging discussion at the time. But yeah, if you want to give me a list of things that were missed, we could discuss it. If they're small enough, we might not need to do anything other than just add them to the list and then capitalize them. But because they've been expensed and because those years are closed, if they were substantial enough, we might need to in the financial statements report a prior period adjustment, which is something we can do. That happens.
I don't think it's a lot, but there's definitely some things that happened in the previous year, at least.
Okay, yeah, I mean, like, that's something you can send me a list and we can talk it through and add it to your financial asset list if it's not a lot, or
It may take us a while to slog through that, but we think that there may be a few items.
okay, yeah, we can take a look at it.
Okay, did we finish with E?
Yeah,
Yes.
Discussion vote on future needs for the audit.
So this is primarily on there for Deborah, our bookkeeper. She can address this too, but just what else you may need moving forward. So if we can drop off the items that are under $1,000 at this point, and and if we're able to change some of the categories after the fact, or you have a better list of kind of what we're thinking about now, what else do you need for us to be able to complete the audit?
I mean, I'd have to go through the binder or go through our set of work as a whole a little bit more, just know everything, but fixed assets was the big thing. If we're getting rid of everything under 1,000, I really just need to get some like general agreement that you're okay with us adding those assets. And then, as you noted, we can change the classifications later. If you're comfortable with my proposed classifications, like now to be changed next year, that, or maybe the year after, since we're almost at 6:30 again. Yeah, if that's fine, then we'll just add them as they are, and then with my proposed classification.
you mean delete the ones that are under 1,000?
I can give you with Director Nyman, Deborah, and myself can meet this week and talk about it. Either not this week, this coming week, and then we can give you what we think those the remaining items, how they would be classed.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. I mean, normally in the past, we would discuss them with Johnny and we just give them names and put them on your asset list. But because of the work you're doing in like the grander scheme of things, I wanted to give the board a chance to chime in and just make sure that I wasn't working in opposition to your goal.
Yeah, because right now I can see most of them would be under a different category. So like the cat would be under the heavy equipment as opposed to vehicles. So it's just slight stuff. But as far as the items that Deborah gave you, I think anything over $1,000 should be okay to add. All of the wolf tank. I mean, the other directors, you all have this list. The wolf tank items would all go together. And according to what we were proposing, they would go under the source of, whoops. Let me see where we put that, but I think it's that source of supply category instead of transmission. No, I'm wrong. Where do we put, yeah, sources of supply, storage, pumping.
Yeah, I mean, you can just send me, if you want to just send me an email with, or just take the file I sent and just add your, like, whatever names you want on them and send it back. I'll create those categories. We'll need to create them eventually. I can start now.
Bless you.
Can we go ahead and get a vote on moving forward on that list, so that it would be okay for Scott to remove any of the items under 1,000, which is a few, and then let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items under $1,000, and everything else is correct as far as putting it on our list, except that it doesn't say what the farm pump and irrigation company item is. $15,000.
I think I examined those invoices and I think it was a new pump and motor when I was on.
There it is. It does say asset, new pump and motor. Okay, yeah. So Does anyone have a problem with someone else want to move that since I'm on the ad hoc? That we go ahead and accept the items that Deborah submitted and give us an okay as the ad hoc to just send an email to Scott saying what the categories would be.
Can someone make that motion?
Jerry or Terry?
I'm trying, but my mic was muted. Sorry. I'll move that we allow Scott to remove anything that's under $1,000, and we will recategorize and send him an email on where to
Of the new categories.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Abstain?
Director Schoenberg,
I don't know if we have to abstain from it, but I'll abstain.
Director Gibson, aye. So it's 3-0-2 abstentions. Is that how I say it?
Yes, good job.
Okay, great. And now we're moving on to
8.
So
Number 8.
thank you so much, Scott. I think that's everything that we had for you. I really appreciate you coming and helping us with that. And we will get that email out to you next week.
Okay, sounds great. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott. Have a
Thanks,
good
everyone.
night.
Scott.
Talk to you later.
thank you very much.
Bye.
Okay, so we go now to the part where Oscar comes in.
Yes.
Carlos.
Number
8.
Number 8.
Number 8. Unfinished business discussion vote update on Fraser Park, Lake of the Woods consolidation planning project. A, discussion vote on test well property appraisals.
That's D. Do we have D?
He's
Uh-oh.
here.
He's here. He's gone. There you are.
All right, let's see. What was the question?
Appraisals.
Where are we at on the appraisals for the well property?
Oh, for the test well appraisals, we should get those on Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
But wait, so we went ahead with those because I thought we were holding off. So you're saying we'll have the appraisal,
Oh.
but we're not sending the letters out.
Yeah, did I say, I probably said test well, I meant the temporary easements for the construction of well 7.
Right, which that actually comes up as number 9, so it's highly confusing. But so on 8A, we're holding off until we get the finalized appraisals for 9.
That's correct. Correct.
Okay, B, discussion vote on moving forward with a resolution for the intention to purchase the test well
Okay,
property or easement.
I'm sorry, that was my bad. I'm going to move that we table items B, C, and D. We should have actually tabled A as well. For now, until we are able to move forward with number 9's appraisal and get moving on that. So I don't think any of the others.
Okay, that's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Schoenberg,
Aye.
Director Gibson, aye. 5-0-0. E, discussion vote on claim 16 and other claims and payouts.
Yeah, so claim 16, we had a total of $450 for management administration, which is basically the director's cost of attending a meeting. For legal, we had an invoice from Young and Woolridge, invoice number 86420, total $383.50. And then we had staff costs in a total of $64.60. So planning subtotal it would be $898.10. And then we had invoice from D. Jasper and Associates for engineering admin, invoice number 2202015, a total of $306. And then we had another invoice from D. Jasper and Associates, and that was for appraisals. And that was invoice number 2202060, also for a total of $306. So test well design subtotal would be $612. So that would bring the total claim to $1,510.10. But once it gets what do you call it? I'm at a loss of words right now. Once it gets once it gets rounded, it goes down to $1,510.
Okay.
Any questions on claim 16?
And just for our records, some items that would have been on 16, we were not able to claim because we don't have money in the budget for them yet. So those will be on another claim.
No,
Thank you for that
that's
clarification. No?
that's for the other project.
Okay.
That's for the well and meter project. We do have money. Our budget of 7,000 was approved by Lawrence, so we do have it.
Okay.
So
Okay, is there any further discussion?
well, we're talking about claims and payout. Where do we stand on, what claims have we not received our money on yet? 14 and 15. Do you know, Tiffany?
Sorry, we still have not received 12, 13, 14, 15 is still relatively new. But yeah, we're still waiting on those.
So do we know where we stand on all those, Carlos?
I thought Lawrence had addressed that a while back. He said, I don't know if it was at the last meeting last week or the meeting before that, he has said that claims 12, 13, and 14 were already processed. So I don't know what's taking so long.
That was at the state update meeting last week. He said that
Okay.
they did go through, I believe. But yeah, I mean, it takes a while, but he said we should be expecting those relatively soon.
And I know that
Okay.
one claim, he was needing some documents from the test well drillers from Johnson Drilling, and we got that to him, so that kind of delayed that claim. But you guys should get the funding relatively short or soon. I do have a comment on Tiffany had told me that there was an invoice from D. Jasper and Associates that got charged twice. It got charged to TA TA funding, and it also got charged to the planning grant, and it got paid twice. So I don't know if I talk about that now or we have to open up the comment section again or not.
Why don't we move on this particular claim because it's not part of this claim, and then
Okay.
we can still discuss it under this item though.
I make
Okay.
a motion that we approve claim 16
I'll second it.
in the amount of 1,500 $1,510.
and 10 cents.
Yes,
Oh, they round it.
but they rounded down to 1,500.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. Roll call of directors, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Schoenberg,
Aye.
Director Gibson, aye, 500. And so
Okay, you change your paper.
what are we moving on to next? Oh, what he was just talking about, Oscar, right?
Yeah, no, Carlos, and we're still on that item.
Oh, Carlos, sorry. Okay.
Okay, yeah, so basically I spoke, I did see the invoice. It was changed. The invoice number was changed on it. And but it's the same date as the other invoice, as far as it's like a meeting. And it should have been paid out of the planning budget, but it got in there under the CTA funds. So basically I spoke to our program director, and she said that probably the thing that needs to be done is well, D. Jasper and Associates would have to reimburse self-help enterprises for that amount. The total was $198. So I will I don't know if I need to deal with what is her name? Gail? Is it Gail D?
It is, yes.
Yeah, so I don't know if I need to deal with Gail, and I can send her over the copy of the RFP where that 198 got paid out through she, and then we can see, I can show her also where it got paid out in, I believe it was claim 7. So
She is aware of it. She's the one who initially pointed that out.
yeah, so then we would need to get you guys to write a check to Self-Help Enterprises for that amount, and then we'll take it from there as far as getting it back into or sending it back to the state somehow.
Okay, we'll do that as soon as the state pays it.
What was that?
We'll do that as soon as the state pays us.
No, that one's already been paid, D.
Yeah.
That was on claim 7.
Oh, okay, just kidding.
Your other money you're waiting on. Sorry.
Just how
Yeah, and
the
that's all. So that's all I got on that one.
Okay. Where do we move on from here?
Number 9.
No,
Number
we're gonna
9,
skip 9.
Okay, I don't think we necessarily, hello, I don't think we necessarily need Carlos for 10, correct, Carlos? Because can't Oscar let us know where we are with the TA for the
Well,
pipeline?
actually, I can let you guys know real quick for 10 if we can skip 9 and go to 10.
We already did that in our motion, yes.
Yeah, I think that was part of the motion, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I said we need to skip 9. Okay, so
Okay,
basically we got the executed work plan yesterday from the state. So I will be routing the amendment that I made for D. Jasper and Associates with the scope of work that D gave me. So basically, once I route that amendment, I'll do that tomorrow morning, or actually I might do it tonight, right now when I leave this meeting. And then we'll get that signed and we'll get that over to D. And then once D signs it, then he can start work on that project already. So it should be sometime, I'm hoping that by next week we should have everything signed and finalized.
I have
So, quick question, are we able to do 10 B, C, D, E, or should we table it? Because you still haven't signed, it's still not signed.
Yeah, you're gonna have to table it until once D signs that amendment, then you can start work on all the other one, on everything.
Okay, so I'm gonna move that we table 10 B, C, D, and E until our next regular meeting.
I'll second that.
Roll
And,
call of directors, Director Garcia. I'm sorry,
Aye.
Carlos.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Schoenberg,
Aye.
Director Gibson, aye. 500. And so I'm sorry, Carlos, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
And
Oh,
we
that's
didn't
fine.
we didn't note what time we started on any of this, which is a little bit of an issue. We forgot to note that. But I don't remember what time it was exactly, like
I can
6:45.
I pull it off the time signature
Oh,
in
okay,
the
perfect.
recording, so it's fine. I'll add it in there.
Okay, so I think that's
Thank
it
you, Tiffany.
and everything else is there.
Thank you, Carlos.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys.
Good night, bro.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Carlos.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Good night, bro.
Thank you. Okay, so now we go back to discussion vote on accounts payable and financial information.
No, we go back to number 4, ad hoc committee reports.
Okay, number 4, ad hoc committee reports. Project committee,
So we attended the state update meeting last week. There are minutes for that that you will be seeing. And I don't think there's anything else that happened on it. It's all being addressed under the various items.
okay. Accounts payable committee, we disbanded it, didn't we?
No,
No.
that's the receivable.
That's the-
Accounts receivable, okay. So accounts payable committee,
We met and we'll be going over that under financial business.
okay.
There's
Book
no,
asset
go
I'm
ahead, go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead. It's fine.
Book asset detail committee, didn't we cover that?
Well, we mostly covered that under the item that we, under item 6. I did meet with Deborah and do some more work and just discussion on what we needed to do. And then we'll be meeting again with Director Nyman to get that. So we now need to get that information to Scott next week. So we just have to remember to do that.
Well,
Deborah?
let's make a time now because
Okay.
I'm not available on Tuesday.
Okay, can we do Thursday, the 31st?
Yes.
What time?
Because the other days I have too much.
What-
Actually, I
what-
guess I could actually do Monday, the 21st. I'm sorry.
21st. That's already gone.
That's gone. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, I can't do Monday. Sorry. Yes, Thursday. Thursday the 31st. Whatever time you guys are happy about. 10, 11.
What time do you want, Deborah?
11 o'clock sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Sounds good to me.
okay. The treasure committee. Brown is back now.
Yeah, Brahma's back. So I've been talking to extensively to Tiffany on this. I have like all the invoices lined up, but there's some matching issues that we're dealing with. So I think that Tiffany and I are going to get together at least one more time, and if Director Nyman
And
wants to.
and I should come to that. Yes.
I have an
Okay.
update on that.
Okay.
So I worked this entire week going line by line through that planning account extensively, and I have it 100% reconciled now. So I've identified everything that would need to be done to finish that off. So I'm ready anytime you are. You may want to go over the details of that with me. So
Can we do that on that same day after we send the information to Scott?
Thursday, I'll be here. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
And thank
Okay.
you, Tiffany,
Okay.
for all that hard work.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, Tiffany. Okay, and accounts receivable committee has been disbanded, right?
Yes.
Yes, Tiffany, that can take
Oh,
off of the agenda.
Got it.
Okay, financial business discussion vote on accounts payable and financial information.
That's Deborah.
Okay, so we met and we cut 8 checks from the operating account for a total of $2,738.56. And there are no extraordinary items on the list. So unless you have any questions for me, I think everything is self-explanatory.
I'll make a motion that we pay our bills.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call our directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Telling,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Schoenberg,
Aye.
Director Gibson is an aye. 500, motion passed. And so now
7.
we move on to number 7, discussion vote on sample Prop 218 notice. Thank you for that, Kelly.
Yeah, I don't think.
I
we
mean,
need
Terry,
Deb-
duh.
Deborah, you can stay if you want, but I don't think we need you for this.
Okay. Well, I will ask to be excused then.
Good night, Deborah.
Good night, Deborah. Thank you.
Night,
Good night.
Deborah.
Good
night.
night, thank you.
No.
So I did see I thought it was a really excellent letter, much better notification than what I think was sent to Tiffany to send out. But I did see at least one typo on it.
Yeah, the Y.
I saw, let's see, I forgot to
Where
circle
it
it.
says Y Fraser Park Utility District should be, Y should be, shouldn't that be in lowercase?
There's one before that. It's where is it? I'm sorry, I didn't. Well, I don't know why I didn't circle it.
Well, I wanted to ask about something at the beginning of the letter. Where it said that questions, you can call the utility district, the second paragraph down, Monday through Friday. That's not right.
Yeah, it should be Monday through Thursday.
So that's a biggie.
Yep.
Yeah, because then we'd be paying for all those people calling on Friday.
And they get the answer machine or the answering service and we get charged for that.
Yep.
Too much.
Yeah, this notice came entirely from David Hosley. I didn't do any adjustments yet, so there's a lot of things here and there that need to be filled in. And
I thought it was the adjusted one. I'm sorry.
No, not yet, because it's still kind of early. Like, we don't have dates yet. But I wanted you all to look over it and start thinking about it, because I think by next meeting he's going to have he said it's not called a rate study anymore, not to use that term. He said it's called a financial analysis. So he should have that financial analysis ready probably by our regular meeting in April. So I wanted to kind of get at least one piece of it to you guys, so it's not all for the same meeting.
So what do you actually need from us right now? Just some of the typos or what we don't approve of, or
just the general feeling of the letter?
Yeah, all of that. If you like the general consensus of it, then once we come up with the date and time and all the details, we can fill all this in. And he also sent us, it was a very small, maybe half a page sample of a resolution, but we have the lengthier version that we used in 2016 that was provided by the attorney. So I have that in draft form too. But that it still has a lot of holes because we don't have that financial analysis yet. So all of that's kind of coming up, and we'll probably be dealing with the next 2 meetings in April.
Can I ask a question? Oh, I
Yes,
guess
Director Nyman?
I was looking at the, so in 2022, I mean, we would have it done before 2022, so that rate increase would go up for like 2 months or 3 months whenever it got approved? Is that the way that's gonna work?
I think it's gonna have to say 2023.
Well, so then is it gonna be a 0% again?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to, I think we need to address that at the next meeting, since we're only, I don't know, what does it say on the agenda?
Well, I guess,
Sample Prop 218 notice.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can talk about that right now. So I think we may have an issue with that, because I don't see how we can because remember that we in the past put this into place January 1st. I'm not sure how that would, if there'd be like some billing issues, and I'm not sure at what point this is actually going to get all the way past all of the public meetings and everything. I mean, it's already March, the end of March, and we haven't even gotten the resolution yet. So by the time this goes out, April, May, our first public meeting is probably gonna be like June. I don't know. I'm a little worried that we're not going to have it resolved till the very end of 2022.
okay, well, that's something we'll have to discuss with David when we have our meeting, because I mean, it could say, the increase for 2022, on the approval like July 1st, whenever we expect it to be done, and then of course January 1 you're going to raise the extra dollar or whatever it is.
I did find the another typo, just before I forget, where it says under basis of proposed rate adjustment, these revenues allow the Fraser Park Public Utility District to protect public health and safely. It's supposed to be safety.
Okay.
And then I was also concerned about the 2018 date. Is that correct? Isn't it 19 and 20 that we didn't do? Or 20 and 21 that we didn't do? Yeah, we did. Didn't it go up? Wasn't 18 part of the last Prop 218?
I don't know.
The last one ended in 2021 was the last increase we didn't do.
Right. So, but when was the first increase we didn't do? Wasn't it 2020? Because he said we have not adjusted water rates since 2018. I don't think that's correct.
Right, it would be 2019.
2019, because it didn't happen in 2020, I don't think.
Yeah, we didn't raise it in 2020 because of COVID, and we didn't raise it in 2021.
So instead of 2018, it should be 2019?
I believe so.
Or we need to find out exactly?
We need to find out exactly, because I recall that there was some discussion on the impact it was going to have on our community the third year in a row, and I don't.
Well,
I'm
Tiffany,
not
can you
convinced
just
it was,
Tiffany,
COVID.
can you just verify that?
Yes.
please? Thank you.
I think it was the fourth year in a row, but yeah, I think we need to verify that. So,
Okay, so can we move on from this letter? We'll be discussing it at the next meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to
So we just need
And
to
so
note
now do we go back?
before we move on, I think we'll just need to note that he'll have to change that chart if we, because he still has year one being 2021, but I think we may need to make year one 2022.
No. Well, he can't, because we have to discuss it with him, because I think the reason why, because we were supposed to be done, and that's why he was saying year one was 2021, so we couldn't change it because
Right,
it's
but
already passed.
I just
So-
don't know if we're gonna be able.
So
Okay.
basically, we're only going to have 3 years of rate increases. I mean, and that's why I think that's why he was saying that we get done in 2022. If we get Prop 18, we would raise the rates when it was approved going forward. So that's why I'm saying we have to discuss it, but I mean, whatever date.
But it's not really gonna be a whole year. There's no way.
Well, it won't be a whole year, but it still is like, once it's approved, we could raise the rate for whenever the approval of the 218 is.
And we can discuss that at a later time, right?
Yes.
Okay. So are we done with number 7?
Yeah.
Number 9.
Okay, so the way we've broken up this meeting, I'm a little
Number 9.
number 9. Okay, number 9, and the time is 7:23 that we're going back into this.
Yeah.
Number 9, discussion, vote, update on FPPUD meter replacement project and emergency well supply project. A, discussion, vote, update on the bid award for well 7.
Okay, I guess that's me.
Is that-
There's a couple of things I think we need to consider, and that is awarding this contract for well number 7.
Well, did Jesse and Lawrence approve the bid?
They should be approving those bids, I think, very, very soon.
But
No,
we
do
discussed
something
this 2 weeks ago.
No, we discussed the state update meeting, D, and we needed to get something to them for them. We needed to get stuff in writing from them, and that is not
Lawrence said-
happening. Will not fund
That-
anything.
Lawrence sent an update just a little while ago to D saying he understands D's in the meeting, but he was just asking about a couple other things about well 7. So I would anticipate, like D was saying, they've been working on it, and Lawrence has a response. I could look it up right now and see exactly what they said.
Could you please do that? Because I mean,
Yeah.
we talked about it 2 weeks ago, and we keep
Yeah,
waiting.
D said, or Lawrence said, D, I have completed my review of the FBA package. I know you were in a board meeting. It's okay once you get back to me tomorrow. One other question, I noticed there are some discrepancies in the bid item descriptions in the attached document compared to the contractor's bid. I also noticed some quantity discrepancies in the bid item in the spec you provided. So he just wants some clarification tomorrow from D on those.
But we cannot award the bid until we actually have from Jesse, and we actually have the letter from whoever, I can't remember who it is, their superior. That was talked about in the state update meeting. Tiffany can look at the minutes for that, but they said that we were not able to, I mean, if we move forward, it won't be funded unless we have that approval letter.
Could I interject something here? We've been talking with Lawrence on and off here. We talked today about this issue, and let me present it to you. So we don't have to award this tonight, but I want to alert you as to some ramifications if we don't do it soon. And one is the bids were conditioned on a 60-day award. In other words, 60 days after the bids were received, they have to hold those bid prices for us. Now,
Right, on the state update, D, you had said 90 days, so Lawrence,
I got that corrected today, Lisa. 60 days is the number. Now, based on that, and that's why I want to talk about this and get you kind of up to date, so you can be thinking about it. Maybe at the next meeting, we want to take some actions. February 11th, from February 11th, we have 60 days to award this bid. Now, 60 days puts us at April 11th, okay? So that means, we're right just about at our April board meeting. In fact, that's before the April board meeting, a couple of days.
So let me ask a question. Can we award this bid contingent upon approval from the state?
No, you can't. You gotta award it. You can't award it on a contingency. But let me address that. And we've had some conversations on that. And let me preface all of this with the fact that prices are skyrocketing. On a number of the projects that we are dealing with, contractors are already telling us that prices are going through the roof and they don't want to hold the prices. Pretty much the only hammer that we have here is the agreement by the contractor to hold the price for 60 days.
Well, then we're going to have a special meeting.
So if you'd let me kind of go through this, I'd appreciate it. And then I think we can probably think a little bit more clearly about this. So that makes it April 11th. Now, the funding agreement is for $3.9 or $3.7 million. That is a combination between the meter replacement project and the well 7 replacement project. The well 7 replacement project is only going to be a part of that. The meter replacement project's about 2.5 million of it. The whole package is already approved. The funding is available. Talking to Lawrence today, we are in a very safe position. And again, Director Nyman, we do have to have a special meeting on this, but the money is available. The money is more than adequate to cover the well 7 replacement project. So we can safely award that and be covered by the funding agreement that we already have in place. Now, we want to increase the amount of that funding agreement because when we get into the meter replacement project, we think we're going to be a bit short. And that'll take a bit of time, and we've been working on that with Lawrence as well. But we can award it safely. We have the funding in place. It can be spent on the well project.
So we can award it before approval from the state, or we're going to have a special meeting until he sends an okay.
What he was asking you to hear him out on the whole thing, and then he would explain that for you.
The state is reviewing the plans and specifications, and you can see that Lawrence is already done with his part of that. And Jesse, I'm hoping will be done within a week with his review. So we will get an approval of the plans and specifications, which is the key to making the award to the contractor, because that's indeed what he bid on. And if we get a few of these little loose ends tied up, and we will.
Okay, let me ask one question, D. Is Jesse aware of the date that we have to award the bid. Because, I mean, we talked about this 2 weeks ago. If they're not aware of the time and you're hoping that he has it done within a week, that could or could not end up being the case, and then we're in trouble again.
Well, yes and no. We mentioned to him at our state meeting, I believe, just.
He wasn't there. He wasn't there, Dee.
No,
Ryan.
but Ryan was.
Yeah.
And we mentioned the critical nature of the timing and that we wanted to get the plans specifications reviewed.
I
Now,
think we should send an email specifying that we have to have a special board meeting on a certain date, which we'll come up with, to approve and award the bid. And that we need to have the approvals before then. Otherwise, it's gonna cost us more cost, or somehow we need to word that to him.
yeah, we're working on that. And we will notify him that we do need those, once again, notify them that we need to go ahead and get the plans and specifications approved and reviewed. And that will happen. And as soon as that happens and we get that, even with a verbal from Jesse and from Lawrence, then we can go ahead and have a special meeting, and we'll receive an email from both of them, and they will say plans and specifications are approved. So given that, then we should be able then to go ahead and safely award the bid before April 11th. That's my point.
So what I'm saying is we're gonna have.
Hold on, Brahma, because you weren't at the state update meeting, and I'm very concerned because that is not what I understood, Dee, from Lawrence. Lawrence, I understood him to say that without that final letter from them, that we could do whatever we want, but it doesn't mean that it's really approved, that his supervisors have to approve it. It's not just Lawrence, it's not just Jesse. It has to go above them, and there has to be an actual letter. It can't be an email. It has to be the actual funding letter in order for it. Am I not correct about that? Because because remember, I was very concerned about this. And that's why I asked you whether it was a 90-day or a 60-day period. And we thought it was a 90-day period at that time. And so I'm a little concerned that is not the kid, that because they said, yeah, you can go out to bid, but that doesn't mean that it's really been approved.
We need to have that conference call with Lawrence to cement what I'm telling you. We do have a funding agreement. We have the funding, much more than what we need for well 7. We've bid the project. We're holding the bids for 60 days. Sorry, I told you 90, but it's 60. I confirmed that today. And that's why I'm bringing this up, that we need to go ahead and get these approvals and move ahead with awarding this bid. Or when 60 days runs out, the contractors are not going to go ahead and hold their bids for another 30 days at the prices that they've quoted us.
So we're gonna need to have a special meeting on the 7th of April.
Isn't that a little late?
Yeah, I think we need a special meeting next week.
Okay. Well, then we could
Okay.
do 31st.
And get things
Isn't the
straightened out.
31st already kind of a big day for a few of your directors?
Yeah,
And
No.
consider you may be here in person on the 31st.
Ah,
And I have a problem. I have a prior commitment on, I won't be able to be here
on the
nor do I.
31st?
in the evening. That's why I made all those, I was fine in the day.
Oh,
In the evening, I already have a commitment.
I'll be out
Well,
of
can we have it?
the country
Go ahead.
till the 3rd.
well, how about Wednesday night?
How about it in the daytime? Can we do one in the daytime?
1
I'm
o'clock.
available anytime.
Yeah, I'm
Dennis?
fine in the daytime. I mean, we're already there doing stuff, at least Director Nyman and myself. So I guess we just won't get paid for all of it. But yeah,
I've got a doctor's dentist appointment from 10 to 11 on the 6th a.m.
we're talking about Thursday the 31st.
No, I'm out of the country till the 3rd.
Well, we can still do it with 4 board members though, right?
Yes.
But listen, not the third, it's another date besides the 31st, right? Are we gonna do it, are we talking in the daytime on the 31st?
Yes.
They're talking about.
Sorry. Okay.
I mean, it wouldn't necessarily have to be the 31st, would it? I mean, couldn't it be on the 29th or the 30th or the 28th or?
Sure.
Well,
I mean,
Gotta
Sure.
give Jesse and you guys time to talk. and
you're gonna
figure out-
talk tomorrow and then the 28th is Monday.
okay.
I mean,
Then,
yeah, but if you're talking about getting a letter from his higher ups and D
Oh,
still has to give him information back, there's no way that he's gonna have that information
By Monday.
done within
no,
1 or
I-
2 days.
That's probably not gonna happen even 90 days.
What about the?
So, what we have to do is get comfortable with awarding this bid. And based on the fact that this is funded, and we just really need to get our plans and specifications approved by the state, both Jesse and Lawrence, and move ahead.
So we need a phone conference with Jesse and Lawrence early next week to where they understand the importance of approving those plans and specs and giving us the okay to award the bid,
That's right.
the verbal okay.
Well,
That's what we need to do.
I think,
Lawrence said no, but I mean, he was pretty clear about that, Donnie. You weren't there.
Lisa, you don't have to, I understand that. I'm just saying that now that things have changed, we need to see if we could press upon them the importance of the bids not staying the same and it costing so much more, because it's a substantial jump in the pricing now from when they bid it. And maybe the state, I'm just,
I get all that.
I'm saying it doesn't hurt to ask them, right, on a phone conference.
well,
No,
it needs to be done tomorrow because we have no time.
Dee, can you set up a phone conference with Lawrence and Jesse tomorrow? I'm
I'll do
available
that.
for it. All right.
I'll give it a try. I think Lawrence would be available. I don't know about Jesse.
All right. Thank you, Dee.
Or what about any of the board members being there?
Well, it can only be the ad hoc.
So,
It is-
what time are you trying to set that up? I have a appointment at 2, but I could do it before then.
I could do it in the morning, but I'm planning on leaving tomorrow also after then.
So can you try to set up for like a 9 or a 10 or an 11 or something?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just if you let me know, I'll be looking for that to try to figure out when.
Okay, well, I'll send out an email tonight.
Okay. And then how are we going to know? I mean, shouldn't we go ahead and set a special meeting date anyway for, I mean, I don't know how we're going to do this exactly, but, I mean, maybe that should happen on the 5th instead of trying to wait till after the 11th.
Yes, we need to, sometime between now and the 11th, we need to have that special meeting.
What about the 5th of April?
Yeah, that's what I was suggesting.
I'll be back.
At like 6 o'clock?
Sure.
That'd be fine.
Looking at my calendar.
Is that okay with you, Terry? I can't hear you.
Yes,
Tiffany? Johnny?
April 5th at 6 o'clock, I can do it.
Well, of course, I mean, I'm gonna do it no matter what, yeah. I mean, it's important.
6 o'clock, April 5th. Is
Okay,
that a check?
that's a Tuesday, right?
That's a Tuesday, not a
Okay.
Thursday. I think if we wait till Thursday, it's a little late, better to do it a couple days ahead.
No,
of
I
time.
get it.
So the only agenda item will be awarding the bid. Is that what I want on there?
Yeah,
Yes.
you might need something about discussion in case for some reason we're not able to award it, and then we would have to have a discussion. We would have to have a discussion again with Lawrence if they can't give us something saying it's okay, we would have to have a discussion about the potential change of prices and how that's going to affect things. So I don't know. I mean, yes, we need to award the bid, but if they are saying, I mean, I'm just worried because Lawrence was so adamant when he said what he said at the state update meeting.
We could just discuss, vote on awarding the well 7 bid, and then include the rest of well 7 discussion here that we got, or and so we cover all bases, even though we won't need all that stuff.
I agree, Johnny.
Sounds good. Okay, so Lord help me, I'm lost again.
9B.
Discussion vote on site access through SCA property. That's the easement, right?
Yes.
Is Dee here still?
Oh, yeah.
he's a
I'm
trooper.
here. I'm here for the duration. Let's see. Let's see, 9B.
The easement
Yes.
through Thea.
We, like I said a little earlier, we and mistakenly identified the wrong project, but we are due to get the appraisal Monday or Tuesday from Valbridge for the temporary easement that we need for getting access to drill the well. So once we get that,
Okay.
then I'll place a call to Nathan and we'll start our negotiations immediately. And then we'll go from there. I think probably we can cover that at our special meeting. Maybe let's put that on the agenda too. The minute that I receive the appraisal, I will send it out to everybody. And then we have to begin negotiations with Nathan, and probably with a little bit of guidance from Alan because of the difficulties that we had before with Mr. Aries.
Yeah, I
So-
A
think
clarification, Dee?
Yes.
Did you say it needed to be added to the special meeting? The one we're
Yeah,
having on April 5th?
we already did that, Dee. I think what Johnny was suggesting is that we put all of 9 on there. So not only is it the bid award, but we also include the whole of item 9 with the A, B, C, D, everything that has anything to do with it in case anything needs to be discussed.
Great. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so can we move on to C? Discussion vote on the plans and specifications for the meter replacement.
Talk to Curtis this evening a little bit about plans and specifications. He's still shooting. He says every time we talk about this, I move it 2 weeks, but he's shooting for the end of the month, as I think we stated last time, but I'm guessing that it's going to be more like April 15th, somewhere around there, tax day, to get it all done.
So I'm a little confused about this too, because didn't we need to have a certain amount of that done for that approval? That was my understanding from Lawrence, that we needed not only the plans and specs for the well number 7, but because it's all one project, in order for them to actually approve it, we needed the meter replacement.
No, we don't. But we do need, I mean, it's going to be a month or a month and a half before we, at least that, before we get any bids on the meter replacement project. And again, in our conversations today with Lawrence, and again, we need to go over that with him. We are fine with going ahead with the well. The budget has been approved for both. Now, if prices come in above the budget for the meter replacement project, we'll have to request an increase in the budget, and that will take a bit of time. But we do have plenty of money to cover the well.
I understand that, but didn't he need like some amount of the plans and specifications? He didn't need the full, we didn't need to go out to bid yet, but my understanding was that you were getting some, a number of items about the meter. He had asked about the meter portion as well. And my understanding was that we could not get that approval letter without both of those items addressed.
Again, we do not need to have the plans and specifications into Lawrence for him to go ahead and authorize us to award the bid for well 7.
So you guys can hash it all out tomorrow.
Yeah, we need to talk because that wasn't my understanding.
Well, when Lawrence is on the phone, then and I think that's really a good idea. We need all of us to be on the phone with Lawrence and hear what he has to say. But again, we've had conversations with Lawrence, a couple today, and so I'm fairly confident in what I'm telling you, but I've always conditioned that on I could be wrong too. But I'm pretty confident that's what we've got.
So it can get discussed tomorrow, and hopefully everyone's available to do it tomorrow, right?
Well, tomorrow
Discuss-
it would, if he can do it, it would be what, Lawrence, you're going to try to get Jesse, Director Garcia, and myself, correct?
And Johnny.
And me.
Johnny D, of course.
Okay, so moving on to D, discussion vote on going out to bid for meter replacement. We need to put that off, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I'll move that we table D, and I don't think we have a budget adjustment right now. So, correct, Oscar, that is not.
As far as I know, I wasn't on the ad hoc meeting, but from the correspondence from Lawrence, it was my understanding that they couldn't have a budget adjustment until they amended the funding agreement, which he said it could take up to 6 months or something like that. I can be mistaken, but that's what.
You're right. That's what I heard too. That's why I'm really concerned. So, yeah. So I'm gonna move that we table D, E, and I think F, because we can't even. Is there even a claim and payout that we can do right now without?
I have an update on it.
Okay, so let me table D and E until until our special meeting that we have on the 5th.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call directors. Director Garcia?
Muted.
Director Garcia?
You're muted.
Aye. Sorry about
Okay.
that.
Director Kelling?
Aye.
Director Nyman?
Aye.
Director Schoenberg,
Aye.
Director Gibson, aye, 5-0-0. And so,
We're on F.
so where are we at now, boy?
On
9.
F.
9F.
Discussion vote on claims and payouts?
Yeah, so funny enough, we got the check for claim number 2 today. So
Has claim 1 been sorry to interrupt, but have you guys received payment for claim 1?
no, we have not. This is the first check we've gotten in a very long time, and it is for claim number 2. It was for $1,944.
Okay, that's something we could bring up on a call with Lawrence regarding claim 1, if there was a specific reason or.
So Oscar, you and or not you, not Carlos. I mean, you need to be on that call as well.
On the call tomorrow?
Yes.
It would really, I have some stuff already on my calendar, on my schedule, so it would really depend on what time the calls are. I know my morning's pretty much booked, but my later on afternoon is I'm free. I'm free anytime after 2, between 2:30 and 5.
Well, I can move the, I can request early afternoon if it's better for everybody. I've got a 10
No,
o'clock.
I won't.
I've got a 10 o'clock conference call with some clients at 10 o'clock. So if we do schedule if we do schedule
I'm available 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 2:30 to 5 tomorrow.
Well, he's gonna try 9.
Okay.
Okay, one person at a time, and I'm sorry I can't see.
You want to do
So
1
there's-
o'clock?
I won't be there, but if Director Garcia, I guess, can be there, I would like to be there.
What time?
1
Huh?
o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock?
No, I'm leaving at noon. I said I could do the morning.
So they could do like 9 or 11.
I've got a 10 o'clock that I can't miss, so it's going to take at least an hour. So if we go at 9, you know, we can discuss. I think the most important thing is, are we safe in awarding the bid for well 7? That's the most important thing that we cover in the morning. And then beyond that, we can add some of these other things a little bit later, have a second conference call, even on Monday or Tuesday.
Well, playing the devil's advocate here, what if they aren't available tomorrow? Do you want to have another option, like maybe to call them on Monday? I don't know.
I can ask.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Director Garcia won't be around. I will have. I don't know. It's get interesting. I'll cancel stuff if I have to, but.
You're
I
gonna
mean,
send
just
them-
on the outside chance they can't do it tomorrow, right?
You're going to send them an email tonight asking for 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I actually have got it typed up and just about ready to punch the button.
Yeah, or even
Okay.
8. What about 8:30? Give us a little more time. Since you have a 10 o'clock. I think probably they're in their offices by then. I don't know. For sure. I don't know what time. I don't know if they're 9 to 5 or what they are. Anybody know?
No, and I don't know about a Friday schedule. I don't know if they work in,
4 days a week. Yeah.
Lawrence
But,
works
you
on
know-
Friday. Lawrence work on Friday.
Okay.
Send him the email. All he can do is reply back. I don't even know if he'll even get it until he goes to the office Monday or tomorrow morning.
So D, you're gonna CC us on that email. So it'll be Oscar, me, Director Garcia,
Johnny.
Johnny.
Yes.
Okay. And I guess we'll have to watch for the email and see what it says and figure it out from there.
Okay, well, thank you for your extra work. Thank you.
And real quick on F, so that check's gonna be deposited into the new meter well bank account.
Okay, I do have
All ready to go.
I have a question on that, Tiffany. I'm gonna have to look up, or I guess Director Nyman can look it up since he's the treasurer now. You should look up and see if there's still $100 in there. And once it's deposited in, we need to move that. There should be $100 again. They should have replaced all of our money that they took out that they shouldn't have from California Bank and Trust. And then that $100 needs to be put back in the revenue.
Okay, right now, I think the last time I looked, there was $87.
Which means that they didn't replace our $16 that they were supposed to. Which I've asked for multiple times. So I don't know. You may need to call Sherry. I've addressed it with Sherry more than once.
Just get a
Okay,
reply.
does she need to do that before she deposits it? So,
No, go ahead and deposit it.
okay, great. So are we done with that? Can we move on?
D got a reply. Go back to D.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dee.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was interrupting. My apologies. I just got a reply from Jesse and he won't be until Monday.
Oh. Well, why don't we wait for the reply from
Lawrence.
Because Lawrence can definitively tell us if we can go out to bid or not. I understood that we could go out at our own risk because we would not have the money in place. That was my understanding. We could do whatever we want, but it would not be approved.
Well,
Okay, so we're gonna wait and see if Lawrence replies. We're hoping that you can have the phone call with Lawrence tomorrow because he does have the answers and that you probably won't need Jesse for that, right?
We need Jesse too because we need to impart to Jesse that. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know. If
I have a hard time getting Jesse to approve a nitrate notice to the public that he's mandating I send out in a reasonable amount of time. So, we can impress upon the need of him approving the plans and specs, but I think getting Lawrence to say we could award it ahead of time is a much more realistic plan.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we do have a couple of days between, tomorrow and April 5th or whenever we're gonna meet to get some kind of a nod from Jesse or Ryan. And I've also CC'd Ryan and I'll send him a special email.
Thank you,
Okay.
Dee.
Thank you very much. Number 11, discussion vote update on Cal OES Community Power Resiliency Allocation to Special Districts Grant. A discussion vote update on purchasing of the generators.
Okay, I have an update on that. Curtis has been working with Joe Prevender and Greg at PTS Rentals, as you know from our last meeting. Joe Prevender was still feeling uncomfortable, not wanting to give his stamp of approval until he got some more findings from the motors on the requirements. So I had P&J Electric come up, I believe it was day before yesterday, on Tuesday. He came up and he did a bunch of tests on all the booster sites, and he forwarded that information to Curtis and Joe Prevender, and so they're actively working on it. And I don't know if Dee has anything beyond that.
Well, all the motors except one are near the 40% lower limit. as you might recall, the wet stacking issue for these motors is at about 40% of load. In other words, if they get too much below 40%, there's a good chance that we get these crystals built up in the exhaust system due to low temperature. They call that wet stacking. And so what these readings showed was that 4 of the 6 are near the 40%, 1 is below, and the other is above. And I think that's the correct number there. And so, you know, they're all very close to the 40% level when they're running.
So that's good.
Yeah, they're you know, they're not 20%. One is way down. I think it's the smallest one, the 7 kW or the 7 horsepower, I think, something like that.
Yeah, and we're lucky in that regard because that's the one that we're not even going to have to turn it on probably because it got the least demand of anything in the system.
Yeah.
So maintenance on that won't be an issue for us.
So it looks like we may be okay. I think Curtis has Joe reviewing that information now, Johnny, if I'm not.
Yeah. Well, we just need to make sure that we don't end
so
up in a situation where we're wet stacking and then it's going to cost us a lot of money because we have to continually do maintenance.
Well, and that's what Joe's concern for us is as well. That's why he required these extra readings from P&J. So I provided that for him by calling P&J, and they got right out here to do it because Joe also just wanted to make sure. So it sounds like there's only one that we really have to be concerned with, and again, that's the smallest one. So that's an acceptable issue for us, in my opinion.
I'm gonna excuse myself from the call now. Everybody have a good night.
Good night, Oscar.
Thank you, Oscar.
Good night.
Not Oscar.
Okay. B, discussion vote on engineering and design.
Nothing to do yet until we determine where we're going to set those things up.
Okay. Number 12, discussion vote on installing the nitrate analyzer.
Okay, so P&J finally got the nitrate analyzer. Jordan from P&J also came up to solidify our requirements, our needs on that. A couple more questions still have to be answered for him. Technical questions about data storage from the nitrate analyzer, what have you. So as of today at about 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, I was still working on it. So I anticipate having this resolved and hopefully scheduled to be installed, if not installed already, by our next meeting.
Okay.
Hey, as a side note, P&J also, since they have the nitrate analyzer and they have to pay for it and it's so pricey, they're going to go ahead and send us the invoice, which we will pay for the analyzer itself before the next meeting, or I mean at the next meeting, and then we'll pay for the installation and programming after that work is completed.
Okay, thank you, Johnny. Any questions? Number 13, discussion, review, vote on the employee handbook.
Okay, now this is kind of
Well, hello, old
weird.
friend.
This is weird for me because I've been pushing so hard for it, but tell you guys the truth, I'm pretty well burnt tonight. So if anybody wanted to table that one, I'm willing to do it because we still have more stuff to do on this. So on the board meeting.
What's the feeling of the other directors?
I'm okay if we table it.
I'll make a motion that we table 13, the review and vote on the employee handbook
Till the next regular meeting.
till the next regular meeting.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Very good. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Schoenberg,
I'll abstain.
Okay, so it is 4-0, 1 abstention.
Did you vote?
Oh, I'm sorry. Gibson, aye. So Gibson, aye, so it's 4-0, 1 abstention. Okay, new business, discussion vote on modified services in response to COVID-19.
Says Tiffany.
Tiffany,
Is it me? Okay, is there anything? Are you still okay leaving the fees off online payments and making people wear masks, customers who come in?
I think we should, just my personal opinion is that we should leave it in place for another, well, at least we should not change it until the next regular meeting, and we should maybe examine it either at the next regular meeting or the next planning meeting, because we don't even know if California is going to, and that'll come up in the next item too, but we don't know what the status of anything is right now, because we're sort of in limbo. So I would say that we should leave everything as is, and then decide whether we want to address it again at the very next meeting or the next planning meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Number 15, discussion vote.
We need to decide when we're going to address it. Yeah, we're looping. I'm glad you put the Do you want to address it at the next meeting in April, the first meeting in April, or the second meeting in April?
I think the first meeting in April is we're going to know by then, because the deadline for a lot of the stuff with the state is, Tiffany told me today, is the 31st. So we should know by the next meeting what's up.
So I'm going to go ahead and move that we table that until the next regular meeting, and leave everything as is. So I guess we're not tabling it. I'm going to move that we leave everything as is until the next regular meeting.
Okay.
I'll second.
Can I get a second? Okay. Roll call directors, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
aye.
Director Schellenberg,
Aye.
Director Gibson, aye, 5-0. Discussion vote on resolution FP 2022-0324-01, renewing use of remote teleconference meetings under AB 361.
So I'm going to ask, I think at this point, I should call our attorney just to make sure we're going to do this correctly, because it's highly possible that we'll be back in April in person. But for me to try to understand all these government executive orders, and I mean, I could show you, it gets really convoluted. So I'm hoping maybe he can give us an answer. You can pass it, for now, unless the state law supersedes it, and then at that point we have to be in person in April, or it's up to you how you want to handle it. But the resolution is here just in case.
I'm going to move that we adopt resolution FP 2022-0324-01, renewing use of remote teleconference meetings under AB 361, with the understanding that if the state changes its emergency ruling, that would supersede our vote, and with the understanding that if our attorney says that it is not something that we can do legally, that would supersede our vote.
Good motion. Can I get a second? Okay, I got bad ears, but I'm not hearing anybody.
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call directors, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
I abstain.
Director Nyman,
I abstain.
Director Schellenberg,
Aye.
Director Gibson? Aye, under those conditions. So the vote is 3-0-2. And now
Motion carried.
review and approve meeting minutes for 2/10/22 regular meeting.
Okay, I would like to move that we approve the regular meeting minutes for Thursday, 2/10/22, with the amendments, with any of the amendments that were sent to Tiffany previous to this meeting, as well as any additional amendments for typos or other errors we may not have caught or that may need to be corrected.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call of directors. Director Garcia?
I'm not sure. I think I was absent. for
You
that one.
abstain,
I
Jerry.
abstain. Thank you.
Okay, Director Kelly?
Aye.
Director Nyman?
Abstain.
Director Schoenberg?
Aye.
Gibson is an aye. So it's 3-0-2 abstentions, motion carried. And now for the state update,
Okay, again, I'd like
17/22 state update meeting.
Okay, again, I'd like to move that we approve the Thursday, 2/17/2022 state update meeting, with any of the amendments that were sent to Tiffany previous to this meeting, as well as any additional amendments for typos or other errors that we may not have caught or that may need to be corrected.
Second that.
Okay, roll call directors. Director Garcia?
I abstain.
Director Kelling?
Aye.
Director Nyman?
Aye.
Director Schoenberg?
Aye.
Director Gibson? Aye. 4-0, 1 abstention, motion carried. And 2/24/22 regular state planning and project meeting.
Okay, I'm going to move that we approve the 2/24/2022 Thursday regular state planning and project meeting with any of the amendments that were sent to Tiffany previous to this meeting, as well as any additional amendments for typos or other errors that we may not have caught or that may need to be corrected.
I'll second
Second
that.
that.
Okay, roll call directors. Director Garcia?
Aye.
Director Kelling?
Aye.
Director Nyman?
Abstain.
Director Schoenberg?
Aye.
Director Gibson is aye. 4-0, 1 abstention, motion carried. Discussion vote on future agenda items. Have we pretty well wrapped it up?
I think so.
Okay, then I will,
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
perfect.
I'll second it.
Great, roll call directors. Director Garcia?
Aye.
Director Kelling?
Aye.
Director Nyman?
Aye.
Director Schoenberg?
Aye.
Director Gibson, aye. 5-0-0, motion carried, and we're done.
Thank you,
Good night.
everybody.